Anna had always believed her life was simple and calm. She lived with her husband Mark in a quiet town where days moved slowly and people knew each other well. Their house was not big, but it was warm and full of care. Every morning, Mark went to work early, and Anna stayed home, managing the house and the small garden behind it. They had been married for many years, and their life followed a steady routine. Behind their house was a large piece of land that they rarely used. Tall trees stood there, and wild grass grew freely. Anna often thought of cleaning it one day, but she never found the right time. One afternoon, while Mark was away, Anna decided to walk through the land. She wanted to clear some space and maybe plant new flowers. The sun was bright, and the air felt peaceful. As she walked deeper, Anna noticed something unusual. Hidden behind thick bushes and old trees was a small wooden shed. The paint had faded, and the roof looked weak. She was surprised. She had lived there for years but had never seen it before. The shed seemed forgotten, like it had been standing there for a very long time. Anna felt curious. She moved closer, pushing aside branches and leaves. The door was old and heavy, and it made a loud sound when she tried to open it. Inside, the space was dark and filled with dust. At first, she could not see much. She stepped inside carefully, letting her eyes adjust to the light coming through the cracks. Then she saw it. A car sat quietly inside the shed. It was covered in dust, rust, and old cloth. The shape was still strong, but time had clearly passed over it. Anna wiped her hand across the hood and saw faded red paint underneath. She knew very little about cars, but even she could tell this one was special. A small sign on the front told her it was a '57 Chevy. Anna stepped back, confused and curious. Mark had never mentioned this car. He never talked about old vehicles or hidden sheds. She wondered why it was there and why it had been left alone for so long. The car felt like a secret that had been waiting quietly. She walked around it slowly. The tires were flat, the windows dusty, and rust marked the edges. Still, something about it felt strong and proud. It did not look like trash or junk. It looked like it once mattered a lot. Anna left the shed and closed the door gently. Her mind was full of questions. That evening, when Mark returned home, she watched him closely. He looked tired but calm, just like every other day. They ate dinner together and talked about simple things. Anna wanted to ask him about the shed and the car, but something stopped her. She felt that the car carried deep meaning, and she did not want to ask in a careless way. That night, Anna could not sleep well. She kept thinking about the car hidden behind their home. She wondered how long it had been there and why Mark had never shown it to her. She wondered if it was connected to his past, a part of his life he never shared. The next morning, after Mark left for work, Anna went back to the shed. She opened the door again and stood quietly inside. The air smelled old, and dust floated in the light. She felt like she was stepping into someone else's memory. She started cleaning a small part of the car, just to see what was underneath. As she wiped away dirt, more red paint appeared. The color was faded, but still beautiful. Anna felt a strange warmth in her heart. She did not know why, but she felt the car deserved care, not silence. As days passed, Anna visited the shed often. She did not touch much, only observed. She noticed small details, like tools placed neatly on a shelf, old gloves hanging on a nail, and a faded photo stuck to the wall. The photo showed a younger Mark standing next to the Chevy with another man beside him. They were smiling proudly. Anna finally understood that the car was not forgotten by accident. It was hidden by choice. It was part of a story Mark had locked away. One evening, Anna gently asked Mark about his younger days. She did not mention the car yet. Mark spoke briefly, then changed the topic. Anna saw a shadow cross his face. That was when she knew the car was tied to something emotional. Anna made a quiet decision. She would not push Mark to speak. Instead, she would understand in her own way. She believed that some stories need time and care to return. Standing at the edge of the land, Anna looked toward the shed once more. She felt that her discovery was only the beginning. The rusty '57 Chevy was not just a car. It was a bridge between the past and the present. And Anna felt ready to cross it, step by step. After finding the old Chevy, Anna began to see her husband differently. Mark was still kind and calm, but now she noticed small things she had missed before. Sometimes he stared at nothing for a moment. Sometimes he smiled at memories he never explained. The shed and the car had opened a door in Anna's mind, even if Mark kept his own door closed. One evening, after dinner, Anna made tea and sat with Mark on the porch. The air was cool, and the sky was clear. She spoke softly and asked about his younger days again. This time, she did not ask directly. She spoke about memories, about how the past shapes people. Mark listened quietly. After a long pause, Mark sighed. He looked at his hands and then at the land behind the house. His voice was slow and careful when he began to speak. He told Anna that long before they met, his life was very different. He grew up in a small town where everyone worked with their hands. His father was a simple man who loved fixing things. One day, his father brought home a broken '57 Chevy. People said it could never run again, but his father believed it could. Mark was young then. Every weekend, he worked beside his father in the shed. They cleaned parts, fixed the engine, and painted the body. It took years, but the car slowly came back to life. The Chevy became their shared dream. It was not just a car. It was time spent together, lessons learned, and laughter shared. Mark stopped speaking for a moment. Anna stayed quiet, letting him continue at his own pace. He then told her that when the car was finally finished, his father fell sick. He passed away soon after. Mark could not bring himself to drive the Chevy without him. Every time he looked at it, he remembered those days and felt the loss deeply. So he locked the shed and walked away from that part of his life. Mark said he never meant to hide it from Anna. He simply did not know how to explain something that still hurt. Life moved forward. Work, marriage, and daily routines filled his days. The shed stayed closed, and the car stayed silent. Anna listened with care. She did not interrupt. She understood now why Mark had kept the car hidden. It was not shame or secrecy. It was pain and love mixed together. That night, Anna lay awake thinking. She realized the Chevy was not only a memory of loss. It was also a memory of love, effort, and pride. She wondered if leaving it to rust was truly what Mark's father would have wanted. The next morning, after Mark left for work, Anna returned to the shed. This time, she looked at everything with new understanding. She saw the tools not as old objects but as hands once used together. She saw the car not as broken, but as waiting. Anna did not know much about cars, but she knew about care and patience. She decided to start small. She cleaned the floor, removed old leaves, and opened the windows to let fresh air inside. She wiped dust from the shelves and organized the tools. As days passed, Anna spent more time in the shed. She learned the names of parts and how they worked. She read simple books and asked local helpers for advice. Every small task made her feel closer to the story Mark had shared. Mark noticed changes too. He saw Anna coming home tired but smiling. He saw dirt on her hands and curiosity in her eyes. He did not ask questions, but he felt something was happening. One afternoon, Mark came home early. He walked toward the backland and stopped when he saw the shed door open. He stood quietly and watched Anna working inside. She was cleaning the hood of the Chevy, her face focused and calm. Mark felt many emotions at once. Surprise, fear, and warmth filled his chest. He did not step inside. He simply watched for a moment, then turned back to the house. He was not ready to speak yet, but something inside him had shifted. Anna continued her quiet work day after day. She did not rush. She respected the car and the memory tied to it. She knew this was not just about fixing metal. It was about healing something unseen. The Chevy slowly began to change. Rust was removed, paint showed through, and the shed felt alive again. Birds sang outside, and sunlight filled the space. The car no longer felt forgotten. Anna believed that when the time was right, Mark would be ready. Until then, she would keep going. She was not trying to erase the past. She was trying to honor it. As the days turned into weeks, the shed became a place of quiet hope. The story that had been locked away for decades was beginning to breathe again. As time passed, the shed became a quiet world of its own. Anna continued her work with patience and care. Every morning after Mark left for work, she walked toward the shed with calm steps. She opened the door slowly, letting light and fresh air fill the space. The Chevy stood there, no longer silent, as if it was slowly waking up. Anna did not rush anything. She understood that some things needed time. She started with small tasks. She cleaned the seats, wiped the dashboard, and gently washed the body of the car. Each day, she learned something new. She learned how to remove rust safely, how to polish old paint, and how to protect metal from further damage. At first, her hands shook when she used tools. She was afraid of doing something wrong. But with practice, her confidence grew. She reminded herself that effort mattered more than perfection. The car had waited for many years. It could wait a little longer for careful hands. Anna also began to feel closer to Mark's past. She imagined him as a young man, standing in the same shed, laughing with his father. She imagined the sound of tools, the smell of oil, and the pride they must have felt when the car first ran. These thoughts made her smile and sometimes made her quiet. Mark noticed changes in Anna. She seemed more focused, more thoughtful. Sometimes she looked tired, but her eyes held a gentle light. He wondered what she was working on, but he did not ask. Part of him was afraid to know. Another part of him felt thankful without fully understanding why. One evening, Mark stood at the window and looked toward the back land. He saw the shed door open and light glowing inside. He felt a pull in his chest, a mix of old memories and new feelings. He chose not to walk there. He chose to trust Anna. Inside the shed, Anna found an old box under a table. Inside were photos, letters, and small items. One photo showed Mark and his father standing beside the Chevy, smiling proudly. Another showed the car on an open road, bright and new. Anna held the photos carefully, feeling the warmth of a bond that still lived on. She placed the photos back where she found them. She did not want to disturb anything deeply personal. Her goal was not to take over the story but to support it. Anna also reached out to a local helper named Tom. He was an older man who knew about classic cars. She asked simple questions and listened closely. Tom respected her effort and guided her without judgment. He told her that restoring a car was not just about skill. It was about patience and love. With Tom's advice, Anna fixed small issues under the hood. She replaced worn parts and cleaned what could be cleaned. The engine still needed work, but progress was clear. The Chevy looked stronger every day. One afternoon, Anna sat inside the car for the first time. The seat creaked slightly, but it felt solid. She placed her hands on the steering wheel and closed her eyes. She imagined Mark driving it, smiling, feeling close to his father again. That moment filled her with quiet joy. Meanwhile, Mark began to feel lighter. He could not explain it, but something heavy inside him felt less sharp. He started remembering good moments instead of only painful ones. He remembered laughter, not just loss. This change surprised him. One night, Mark spoke softly to Anna. He thanked her for being patient with him over the years. Anna smiled and said nothing more. She knew words were not always needed. As weeks passed, the Chevy looked nearly ready. The paint shone softly under the light. The interior felt clean and welcoming. The engine was close to running again. Anna knew the moment was approaching. She planned carefully. She wanted the surprise to be meaningful, not overwhelming. She wanted Mark to feel safe and supported. She believed that love should move gently, like a calm river. On a quiet morning, Anna started the engine for the first time. It coughed once, then twice, then came alive with a steady sound. Anna held her breath and listened. Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled. The car was alive again. She turned off the engine and stepped back. The shed felt warm and full of life. Anna knew this was not the end of the journey. It was only another step. That evening, Anna looked at Mark and felt proud. She had not only restored a car. She had helped reopen a door that had been closed for years. She believed that soon, Mark would be ready to walk through it. The Chevy waited quietly in the shed, no longer hidden, no longer forgotten. It stood as a bridge between yesterday and tomorrow, ready to carry a story forward. The morning felt different to Anna. The air was calm, and the sky was clear. She woke up early, her heart beating a little faster than usual. Today was the day she had been preparing for. The Chevy was ready, and more importantly, she believed Mark was ready too. Mark followed his normal routine. He drank his tea, read the news, and prepared to leave for work. Anna watched him quietly, noticing how relaxed he looked. Before he stepped outside, Anna spoke gently. She asked him to take the day off. Mark looked surprised. He asked if something was wrong. Anna smiled and said nothing was wrong. She only said that she wanted to show him something important. Mark hesitated for a moment, then agreed. There was something in Anna's voice that felt calm and sure. After breakfast, Anna asked Mark to walk with her toward the back land. Mark felt nervous as they walked past the trees and tall grass. He already knew where they were going. His heart beat faster with every step. When they reached the shed, Anna stopped. She took a deep breath and placed her hand on the old door. Mark stood behind her, silent and unsure. The memories he had locked away for years pressed gently against his mind. Anna opened the door. Light filled the shed, and Mark stood still. The Chevy stood in front of him, clean, shining, and alive. The red paint glowed softly. The tires were strong. The windows were clear. It looked like it had many years ago, waiting for the road. Mark could not speak. He stepped forward slowly, his eyes fixed on the car. He reached out and touched the hood, his hand trembling. He felt the smooth surface under his fingers, and memories rushed back. He remembered his father's smile, his voice, and the sound of tools in this very place. Anna watched quietly. She did not interrupt. She knew this moment belonged to Mark. Mark walked around the car, taking in every detail. He opened the door and looked inside. The seats were clean, the dashboard cared for, and everything felt familiar. He sat down slowly, gripping the steering wheel. For a moment, he closed his eyes. Tears rolled down his face, but he did not wipe them away. He finally looked at Anna. His voice was soft when he spoke. He asked how she did all this. Anna told him the truth. She told him she wanted to honor his past, not erase it. She said she believed the car was meant to be driven, not hidden. Mark listened carefully. He felt gratitude, love, and relief all at once. He realized that keeping the shed closed had not protected him. It had only kept him stuck. Anna had opened the door with care, not force. Together, they stood in the shed for a long time. They talked about Mark's father, about the long weekends spent fixing the car, and about dreams that once felt lost. Mark laughed softly at old memories. For the first time in many years, remembering did not hurt as much. Anna handed Mark the keys. They were old but clean, hanging on a simple ring. Mark held them tightly. He felt ready. They pushed the Chevy out into the sunlight. The car looked proud, standing tall under the open sky. Mark opened the door for Anna, and she sat beside him. Mark took a deep breath and turned the key. The engine started smoothly, filling the air with a steady sound. Mark smiled. They drove slowly down the quiet road near their home. Trees passed by, and sunlight reflected off the hood. Mark felt peace in his heart. He felt close to his father, not through sadness, but through pride and gratitude. Anna looked at Mark and smiled. She knew her decision had been the right one. She had not just restored a car. She had helped Mark find balance between memory and life. When they returned home, Mark parked the Chevy outside the shed instead of hiding it inside. He left the door open. The shed no longer needed to hide anything. That evening, Mark thanked Anna with sincerity. He told her that she had given him something priceless. Not just the car, but the courage to remember without fear. As the sun set, the Chevy rested quietly nearby, no longer forgotten. It had returned not just as a car, but as a symbol of love, patience, and healing. Anna and Mark sat together, watching the sky change colors. They felt closer than ever before. The past and the present had finally met, and both felt complete. After the day Mark drove the Chevy again, life began to feel lighter in their home. The car stood parked near the shed, no longer hidden by trees or silence. Every morning, sunlight touched its red paint, and it looked like a quiet reminder of how far they had come together. Mark started spending time in the shed again, but now the door stayed open. He cleaned small parts, checked the engine, and polished the body with care. Sometimes Anna joined him, handing him tools or simply sitting nearby. They talked about simple things and old memories. The shed, once a place of sadness, became a place of comfort. Mark also began sharing stories about his father. He spoke about lessons he learned while fixing the Chevy, about patience, honesty, and hard work. Anna listened closely. She felt grateful that Mark trusted her with these memories. She understood that healing did not mean forgetting. It meant remembering with strength. Soon, neighbors noticed the Chevy. People stopped by to admire it and asked Mark about its history. Mark spoke with pride, not pain. He shared how the car was restored and how much it meant to him. Anna stood beside him, feeling proud of what they had achieved together. One weekend, Mark suggested they take a longer drive. Anna agreed happily. They packed some food and set out early in the morning. The road was quiet, and the air was fresh. The Chevy moved smoothly, carrying them forward. As they drove, Mark felt a sense of peace he had not felt in years. He realized that holding on to grief had kept him from moving forward. By opening the shed and facing his memories, he had found balance. The car no longer represented loss. It represented love that continued in new ways. They stopped by a small park and sat under a tree. Mark looked at the Chevy and smiled. He told Anna that his father would have been happy to see the car on the road again. Anna nodded. She believed that too. Back at home, Mark made a decision. He placed a small photo of his father inside the shed, near the tools. It was not hidden. It was placed with care and respect. The shed now told a full story, not just part of one. Anna reflected on her journey. She had followed her heart, even when the path felt uncertain. She learned that love was not about fixing everything quickly. It was about listening, waiting, and acting with care. The Chevy had taught her that patience could bring light to even the quietest places. Over time, Mark and Anna began using the Chevy for special moments. They drove it on anniversaries and quiet weekends. Each drive felt meaningful. The car became part of their shared life, not just Mark's past. The shed became a space for creativity and calm. Mark and Anna planted flowers nearby and cleared the land. What was once overgrown now felt open and welcoming. The land reflected the change in their hearts. One evening, as the sun set, Mark and Anna sat on the porch. The Chevy rested nearby, shining softly. Mark held Anna's hand and thanked her again. He told her that her kindness had changed his life. Anna smiled and said she had simply followed love. The road ahead felt open. The past no longer weighed them down. Instead, it guided them with wisdom. Together, they understood that life was not about avoiding memories. It was about carrying them forward with care. The Chevy, once hidden and forgotten, now stood as a symbol of renewal. It reminded them that even things left behind for decades could return stronger and brighter. As night fell, the house felt warm and full of peace. The journey that began with a hidden shed ended with open roads and shared dreams. Mark and Anna knew that whatever came next, they would face it together.